Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of the Educational AD Podcast. We're going to be right back with today's guest, but as always, we're going to give a shout out to our sponsors. Now, don't hit that fast forward button. These are all companies that I used as an athletic director. They're all great companies. You should be using them too. So take 3 minutes, listen to these shout outs, then listen to our great guest, then go and visit these sponsors. I'm telling you, you're going to be glad you did. Here we go. We want to say thanks to Sideline Interactive, indoor score tables and video boards. Go to sidelineinteractive.com and schedule a live web demo to see their products in action. Probably one of the best purchases I ever made was our Sideline Interactive indoor score table. Go to sidelineinteractive.com. Schedule that live web demo today. We also want to thank our friends at Huddle. As a football coach, I used Huddle for years, but when I became an athletic director, I made sure that our school was a Huddle school. And our coaches, our athletes, even our parents just loved the tools that Huddle provided. But there's so much more. Go to huddle.com, join the 8 million users, turn your school into a Huddle school. We also want to thank our friends at Hometown. Hometown is changing the game for schools and organizations with their suite of solutions that includes things like, yeah, they're still the number one digital ticketing provider, but how about athletic website construction, fee-free fundraising, and a lot more. Go to hometown.com. Whether you're an athletic director, head coach, or principal, Hometown is going to let you save time, raise more money, and bring your community together. That's hometown.com. We also want to thank Vital Signs Wall of Fame. If you're looking for a really cool way to display your school record boards or your school's Hall of Fame, go to their website and take a look at their interactive touchscreen video consoles. That's vitalsignswalloffame.com. Their products truly will be game changers for you. We want to thank Home Campus for their support. Home Campus is a platform you're going to use every single day. It's the official sports administration package for several states, along with hundreds of athletic directors. And even if your state has a different platform, you can be a home campus school. Their athletic eligibility and clearance platform alone is worth checking out. Go to homecampus.com. Don't forget to mention the podcast. We want to thank Ohio University and their online masters in athletic administration. My assistant athletic director, along with thousands of others, got his master's through the Ohio program. And while he did it, he also completed 11 NIAAA leadership training courses within the curriculum at no extra charge. Check out Ohio University and their online masters in athletic administration. We'd like to thank our friends at Snap Raise. Have you ever spent weeks and weeks with a fundraiser and been disappointed in the results? Well, those days are gone. Go to snapraise.com. We used it at our school with great success, and so will you. Check out all their other great platforms on their website. But if you're looking for a fundraiser, you just found it, and it's Snap Raise. We want to say thank you to Gipper. Go to Gipper.com and let their team turn you into a social media marketing guru. Maybe it's just a simple social media post to celebrate a victory, or it can be an entire newsletter to showcase all the great things that your department's doing. The team at Gipper will have you up and running in no time. Go to Gipper.com. It's professional graphic design made easy. And we want to thank Athletic Surveys by LifeTrack. At my school, we use surveys for everything, for students, for coaches, even parents. And here's the cool thing. The information that would come back was almost always over the top positive. And having that type of data is incredibly valuable, especially when you're visiting with a frustrated parent, maybe your principal, or even your school board. Go to athleticsurveys.com. They're going to create a custom survey that lets you take the pulse of everybody in your program. That's athleticsurveys.com. And don't forget to mention the podcast. Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of the Educational AD Podcast. We're staying right in Florida. We're doing kind of a Florida focus these few weeks. And our guest today is Dr. Kristina Shahin. She is the Director of Athletics for the American Heritage Schools on the Palm Beach campus. Has an incredible background in athletics. Very excited to hear her story. Dr. Shahin, okay, welcome to the Educational AD podcast.
Thank you so much for having me. Very nice to meet you.
Well, you and I were talking before 100 years ago when I was an AD down in Broward County. I was on your campus many, many times. I'm sure it's changed since then. Excited to hear about some of those changes. But we always like to let our listeners have a chance to get to know our guests. So give us your quick bio, where you were born, where you grew up. Just take us up through your own college days, then we'll take a break. But what's your origin story?
I was born and raised on Long Island. Moved to Florida when I was young to attend college. I attended Nova Southeastern University. That's where I started my journey. Growing up, I was really heavily into dance, and I played softball. I did not have that opportunity to take my love of softball to the college level, but times were different. I don't want to date myself too much, but it was more recreational and just having a great time. And there wasn't that heavy focus on college preparatory kind of, things to get people ready for, college. And it was just a different time, but had a great journey, moved here, fell in love with Florida. I am the outcast in my family. I'm married, have three children. Everyone else is Floridian, so I am the outcast in the household. But settled in Florida, love it. I started in Palm Beach County school system as a teacher, and then I had attended a youth camp here on the American Heritage Palm Beach campus and just fell in love with it and thought, oh my goodness, what is this place? That was after several years in education, about 15 in the county. And then a college planning opportunity opened up. And I said, oh my goodness, I would love to be in that environment. And I was blessed with that opportunity. And, I spent many, many years here. I've been here over 14 years now. So I was in the college planning part and had an incredible time working with students from a different angle, helping them get into colleges. And I always had this spark for working with our student athletes. It was just, they really responded well to, getting them prepped for the next level.
Yeah, we're going to jump into all of that in our second segment. I want to go all the way back to, those early years, growing up, you mentioned dance, you mentioned softball, but, what was it like in the neighborhood? Were there, was there a basketball hoop in your driveway? Were your parents taking you off to dance school? What were those early years like for Christina?
It was such a different time. I mean, we lived outside. We did everything from bike trails to my parents bouncing forts, children going to all different sports and what we loved. But we still managed to always have, you know, dinner together around the table. But we were always busy out and about. We didn't have the electronics. We just, whatever we could do, we made it happen. And everybody knew everybody on the block.
Right. Again, I am so much older than you. I remember having a conversation with another guest of similar age, and we were of that age. We rode our bikes everywhere. We're playing in the backyard, but our parents, had no idea where we were at. Okay.
Right.
Maybe we'd gone to the woods or the city pool or something, and then you were back home, maybe for lunch, definitely home in time for dinner. And then when those street lights came on, that was a signal, you had to come in the house. Um, what was that? What were those years like for you? You mentioned parents taking you to practices. Were they there as fans, or were they again, those parents that I'm talking about, okay? What are your memories of that?
They were fans for sure. There was not this high pressure. There weren't travel leagues. It was just pure fun, and there was no pressure. They got excited when it was time for a recital or a game, and those were just the best memories. And same, I'm probably very similar in age with you because I grew up the same way. We were just out and about and doing our own thing. And you're right. I don't know how I think of it now with my own children. How would I not know for hours what they're doing? It was just so different. But everyone knew everyone, so we all looked out for each other. So we had a great time.
Right. And that's a good point. It's not right, wrong, good or bad, but it's definitely different. Okay. Well, maybe it is right. Um, let's go and I want to jump to high school. What are some of your competitive memories of high school athletics or that environment?
I mean, it was, it's hard. I mean, geez, it's hard to remember that far back, but sports were a very big part of our school culture. What I feel is when I was in high school, there was just such a sense of community. It was a big deal to go to a football game, or, you would have the stands packed when it was a softball game. It was just exciting. I think it was just togetherness, but also I think it makes a big difference when you're in a state where it felt like most of those other students, were born and raised in the same area. It wasn't a lot of different students coming from different parts of the county, or it was your community,
Mhm.
and so everyone was very involved, so it was always like a very electric kind of environment where people were looking out for other kids and they were cheering you on, and it was different. It didn't feel like people were as busy, like that was something they look forward to being a part of, coming out and supporting the school environment.
You're absolutely right. And again, in this, we'll say this current generation, there are so many more opportunities, both athletic and out there in the community that kids didn't have, particularly when I was in high school. I remember in the fall, you had cross country, volleyball for girls, and football. And that was it in the winter. It was basketball and wrestling. Soccer, there's no soccer back in the
Yeah.
70s. And so those kids that were playing soccer, or now they're playing lacrosse and all these other great sports, they were either on one of those teams and somebody else wasn't, but those kids that weren't, they were fans, and that was part of their experience. And now it's great that they are playing other sports, but it's one reason that we don't have those packed bleachers like we used to have. And
Yeah,
I'm trying to explain to parents, hey, those fans, they're playing other sports right now. So
exactly.
let's go and jump to your college days. Nova, great school, great program. Did you know then, as an undergrad, hey, I want to be a teacher, I want to be a coach, I want to stay involved in athletics, or did that happen all of a sudden?
I actually wanted to go into law, and I became a mom. And then I remember I switched it to education, and I thought, what better way to kind of stay involved? I just love learning, love being in the environment, love working with children. And I just knew, like, wow, like my life is about to change. I want to make sure I offer my own child, I only had one at the time, the best experience to get through. You kind of get one shot at it. And I always felt like, there's such a different push now. It is important, and college is a huge thing to look forward to in your future. And I didn't feel in my generation that that was like a huge expectation. It's almost like I just did it on my own. It was just a different feel. So I wanted to be able to just offer everything I could to show the importance of it, and just endless opportunity. And that's what led me into education. So I could be a
Well,
very big part of it.
boy, I mean, I love that answer, and I'm going to say it's 180 degrees from my experience. I just knew I didn't want to work for a living. I mean, hey, I can play games, I can coach, I can teach this stuff, and I get paid for it, and oh, by the way, yeah, kids like it and it's good for them. But you were so much more altruistic than I was. I love it. Okay. Let's go and take a quick break. Our guest today is Dr. Kristina Shahin. She is the Director of Athletics for American Heritage Schools Palm Beach campus. We're going to be back with more, so please stay with us. This is the Educational AD Podcast. We want to say thanks to our good friends at Sideline Interactive, indoor score tables and video boards. Go to sidelineinteractive.com and you can schedule a live web demo to see their products in action. Probably one of the best purchases I ever made was our Sideline Interactive indoor score table. We use it for home games, of course, but we also use it for pep rallies, for signing ceremonies. Their products are tremendously versatile and their customer service just outstanding. Go to sidelineinteractive.com. You can schedule that live web demo today. That's sidelineinteractive.com. We also want to say thanks to our friends at Huddle. As a football coach, I used Huddle for years, but when I became an athletic director, I made sure that our school was a Huddle school. And our coaches just loved the tools that Huddle provided. Our student athletes loved the videos, and our parents loved the streaming, but there's so much more. Go to huddle.com, join the 8 million users, and turn your school into a Huddle school. That's huddle.com.
Yeah, we Huddle is a great tool. We all of our coaches utilize that. It really helps the kids pull together some highlight videos. Parents really enjoy it. So Huddle is a big part of our programs.
Oh, guys, thanks so much for sharing. Has the school got into streaming events yet? Do you do any of that?
We haven't done it with Huddle yet, but we have gotten the information for it. There is another network service that we use that parents can, have a subscription to access. But we wanted to explore that option. We're just not there yet. But
Oh,
yes, definitely.
well, thanks for sharing that your teams use Huddle. That's great. Hey, for our listeners, we're back with Dr. Kristina Shahin. She is the Director of Athletics for American Heritage Schools on the Palm Beach campus right here in Florida. Kristina, you took us up through your time at Nova Southeastern, and in the first segment, you talked a little bit about your journey, but kind of share that again. What were some of the stops that you made as a leader that have brought you now to being the Director of Athletics at American Heritage?
So I started my journey in the county as a teacher, and then I became familiar with this campus when I visited one day, and I thought, oh, this place is amazing. And they had an opening for a college planner. So I had the opportunity to work for years with seniors. And from there, I also got promoted to summer principal and started the American Heritage Summer Institute, which is an amazing educational program for all levels. And it kind of pulled together just the love of working with students, a little bit of the education background there, and then, learning about the colleges and watching the student athletes just always got me so excited to kind of help them through in so many different ways, checking in on them, but then also the tools that they're going to need to be successful later on. And when I would go on the college tours and we would take groups of students or even just groups of counselors, I always lit up whenever I saw the stadiums and the facilities. And, we had that part of the tour. And, being a part of a college preparatory school and our campus is just gorgeous. I wanted it so badly just to have that opportunity to kind of just delve into that area. I mean, it took several years, but it was the happiest day when I finally was offered the opportunity to take on Director of Athletics.
Now, let's dive into that component. Obviously, you had some background. They knew of you, your work ethic, your skill set, if you will, but you had never been an athletic director before. How did you sell yourself to that, committee, that person, whoever, that decision maker? What were some of the ways? Because we get a lot of younger aspiring ADs that listen, and I think it's an important tool to have of selling yourself. So how did you do that? How did you own that room?
Well, just being a part in education, I have just always wanted to see how it works from all levels, whether it was changing up grade levels as a teacher, understanding the college path, getting them, ready and prepped for their college applications, writing letters, the organization, taking on, being testing coordinator, just showing the organizational piece, the communication piece, and just the love of working with these students. You're going to have students that are, of varying levels, have different needs. And I think it's just the vice president here and our president who, had already promoted me to a leadership role. The vice president, Mrs. Leslie Wood, she doesn't know I know this, but she was a big cheerleader for me. And she was like, this is someone that has high interest. She spoke on my behalf and I just did what I needed to do. They know I love the environment. I love the students. And, I'm a big cheerleader out there. I always have been, even before being in this role. I was there and present, and I wanted those kids to know that, I was excited to be out there celebrating them after their hard days. That's really kind of how I sold myself. I just showed that I could be organized, that I really cared. And I would kind of go above and beyond when it wasn't even within my scope of my, job description.
Yeah, and that's a great answer. I think people who become athletic directors, it's as one of our colleagues, Scott Jarvis, will say, it's in our DNA. We're just kind of wired that way to go above and beyond. Um, I'm a big moments person. Can you look back on that time prior to coming to American Heritage? We're going to hear all about American Heritage in our next segment, but can you think of a moment prior to becoming the AD? Maybe it was even back when you were in college or even in high school, that at the time it really didn't seem like much. But now looking back with, wisdom and perspective, you can point to that moment and say, hey, that was a significant moment for me. Anything come to mind for you?
I received a letter once when I was a teacher, and it was someone that I went, it was at it was a fifth grade, a fifth grade student. And it was a very challenging year for the child. And I remember he would tell me about his football games coming up at the youth park, and it was working really hard with that student to help him be successful in the classroom. And then him caring so much that I was there to support him when his family was there on a Saturday morning to kind of watch him. And I received a letter from him at the end of the school year. And one of the things they said to me was, thank you so much for never giving up on me. I mean, that's like a heart, tug right there. But it was just that moment that I thought, oh my goodness, like I love celebrating him and what he had such a passion for. I loved working with him to kind of help steer him in that direction, help him be successful in his academics. And that was just it. It's like taking all of education all into one. So you can take all those tools you've learned along the way and just help them, kind of balance it all and learn how to balance it all. And I think that was the moment for me. So it was very early on in my teaching days.
I just love
I
hearing those
never
stories.
thought it would ever happen, you know.
No, I just love hearing those stories. So very cool. All right. In our profession, I think maybe more than others, there's an expression, you don't know what you don't know. So when you became the athletic director, what's one story you can share of something that you didn't know about being an AD?
Well, I honestly, I remember when I first started, when you're so regimented and you like to be organized and you think you have everything planned out, I can remember the first time that I had to call a school because there was an oops on the calendar and it conflicted with something happening on campus. And just that feeling I had like, oh, I don't want to call this athletic director and tell them that we cannot have this game here tonight. It was like a last minute thing. And I just remember being so nervous, like, oh, they're going to think we're, so unorganized or whatever it was. And I remember having that conversation and they were like, oh, no, that's cool. We have enough time to. And I was just like, oh, and then I could take a deep breath, like, relax, it's okay. And I think that was the biggest thing, just that first, wow, we didn't kind of think that through or something snuck up on us. And, you know, it was more putting out another program when they have all those kids excited, ready to come to us. And I think I've learned just stuff happens, but I remember that initial one thinking, oh, I messed up already. Like, how did I do that? And, but yeah, you have to really just be flexible and, it's just so many pieces. And I felt better after hearing that reaction from the other AD that it was not that big of a deal and these things happen.
Right. No, again, I'm chuckling because I think those are the things that ADs say. We are not going to be that school, that has those
Yes.
things. And then it happens and you're just going, oh my gosh.
Oh,
Yeah,
how did that happen? Yes.
I love it. But yeah, the other AD, they get it. They understand.
They do.
Let's go and take another quick break, but we are going to come back. Our guest is Dr. Kristina Shahin. She is the Director of Athletics at American Heritage School on the Palm Beach campus. Please stay with us. This is the This is the Educational AD Podcast. We want to say thanks to our good friends at Hometown for their support. You know, Hometown is changing the game for schools and organizations with their suite of solutions for things like, well, big surprise, they're still the leading digital ticketing provider for schools and colleges. But how about fee-free fundraising, athletic website construction, and a whole lot more? Whether you're an athletic director, a head coach, or a school administrator, Hometown is making it easy for you to save time, raise more money, and bring your community together. For more information, just go to hometown.com. That's hometown.com. And don't forget to mention the podcast. We also want to thank Vital Signs Wall of Fame. If you're looking for a really cool way to display your school record boards for all the teams, for all the different events, or show off your school's Hall of Fame, go to Vital Signs Wall of Fame and take a look at their interactive touch screen. That's right, touch screen video consoles. You put one of these units in your gym lobby or your main school hallway, it's going to be like a magnet for kids, for coaches, how about parents, even sponsors and alumni. You got to see it to believe it. The website is vitalsignswalloffame.com. And we want to thank our great friends at Home Campus. Home Campus is the official sports administration software for Florida, a number of states, and thousands of athletic directors across the country. And even if your school, your state has a different platform, you can still be a home campus school. Their platform has a number of features that are game changers. For me, the athletic eligibility and clearance platform alone was the gold standard. Really got to check it out. For more information, just go to homecampus.com. And as always, don't forget to mention the podcast. That's homecampus.com.
We use Home Campus. Home Campus really keeps us organized with just our daily tasks. I don't know what we do without Home Campus, actually. It keeps us up to date and reminding us of all those compliance things, those small pieces we have to take care of on a daily basis.
Oh, again, you heard me in the commercial. It's just incredible. Just, I think one of the coolest features for me was, well, there's so many, but on physicals, some parents, choose to have their kids physical in the middle of the year, but you get that notification and you can set it, a week, a month. I always did a month. When that physical is going to expire, I get that notification a month in advance. And so I can reach out to the parents and the students so they can take care of it. Also, the uploading of forms. I'm going to guess that you have your families upload the forms themselves.
We actually are transitioning to the athletics clearance piece, which I'm looking forward to, but we're not there yet. But all of those things you just mentioned, that's exactly what we face all year. We want to try to make it a little easier on our athletic trainers who do all the clearance of the physical. So we're looking forward to trying the clearance part of home campus.
Okay, well, you heard me talk about that, the eligibility and clearance. It's going to change your life. It's going to change your life. I'm telling you. Okay. Um, Once again, our guest is Kristina Shahin. She's the Director of Athletics for the American Heritage School Palm Beach campus. As I shared before, 100 years ago, well, maybe not 100, maybe 15, I was on your campus on a regular basis. Our teams played your teams. Tell our listeners a little bit about the school, about the programs that you offer, and what are some things that you are particularly proud of about the American Heritage Program?
Oh, goodness. We have so many things to be proud of here. We're a true college preparatory school. So the academics are rigorous, but there's definitely a program for everyone. I think that our programs here, I have to say I'm proud of just our ownership first, what they allow us, and they want us to offer that incredible experience. So in my position, I am trusted to, keep things running and rolling. And, I can ask for things and things that they feel it's the right time. They'll make those decisions and provide. So that's a definite benefit. Our athletes, when it's time for uniforms and things like that, they're so generous for our department. But really, it's proud of all of the departments on campus because, we don't run without all these other departments. We have outside maintenance, beautiful facilities. I mean, just meticulous inside maintenance. They help us keep things, safe and clean so that we can prep for games and things like that. It takes an entire community, and we have that here. So we're very fortunate. So shout out to the owners. Our student athletes, I'm so proud of. They go through a very rigorous schedule during the day. It is true college prep. And one of the things I love is when I touch base, when the athletes come back and they visit, they tell us, first of all, school to them in college feels easy. The academic side of it, but also just the regimen each day. They truly get a good college prep feel. They learn how to balance those academics, how to balance their commitments. The communication is huge. What I love is that we really support our student athletes here so that they have those opportunities to attend extra helps as needed, study hall sessions, test preparation, and what I love about my coaches that parlays into how I'm so proud of my coaches. They all of my coaches run their programs. They're not just in charge of their team. They run it as a true program because we're pre-K through 12, but I oversee the junior high and the high school. Well, my head varsity coaches are equally vested in watching those younger kids grow up through the program. So I keep them involved in the hiring of the coaches, and they start instilling all of those things at a young age. So I'm so proud of them. And they have bought into, it's about the kids, it's about prepping them for life, about getting them ready for college. And so they work around all of these other commitments that our student athletes have. And they do it with grace. I mean, it's all about communication. They have their athletes trained. They know to give them a heads up when they have to make up a test or they have to do this or that. So they can make adjustments to their schedules. But it takes a lot of planning and patience on our coaches. And they do this stuff for peanuts. They do it because they love what they're doing. And they love seeing equal success with our student athletes. And of course, I'm just proud of my department. Like I would be nowhere if I didn't have all these amazing people surrounding me within, my office, and that's a huge part of it. It's working all together.
Yeah. Well, again, great job, giving that shout out to the coaches, but also going into the depth of what coaches do. It's not just, from that, 3:30 to 5:30 period. It's a lot more. To that point, we all know the value of having coaches who also teach and work on campus to help build those relationships, but there's also some great off-campus coaches too. What's your, I guess, ballpark percentage? How many of your coaches are actually on-campus teachers or work on campus?
I tr Most of the head coaches are. It doesn't always work out that way. Like John McClain's our head girls varsity lacrosse coach. He's been here over 10 years, but he's not on campus during the day, but he's very involved. He just has that situation where he has the time to be able to be available as needed. But I love when it's possible to have the head coaches or at least assistant coaches on campus. It keeps that connection with the students. It also, or if they're in an education setting, just to understand what they're doing
Right.
day in, day out, it brings them closer to understanding their schedules and how they're balancing things. So I've been lucky that way. I would say 98%
Oh,
of
wow.
my coaches are on campus, not the entire staff, but at least the head coaches, like the
Well,
directors. I like to call them a director of lacrosse or directors of, soccer, things like that.
I think I think our listening audience is just they would love 98%. They probably love 90% too. Um, you're working in an environment, again, independent school, private school, whatever tag people want to put on it. But very much there is an expectation from the parents that their kids, they have them there for the most part because they expect them to be prepared and getting into colleges. Um, what are some things that you do as an AD that your coaches do? You already talked about supporting academics, and I don't want to just feel like I'm brushing that off because it is very
Mm.
important. But what are some other things that you think you and your program do well to support that part of the mission, the college prep mission?
Well, other than the academics and the test prep and things like that, we incorporated we started a program with our strength and conditioning. So, a strength and conditioning team to allow student athletes the opportunities to work all year long when they're out of season. So, even during the summer months, it's free of charge for our student athletes to come in of all sports to keep them connected here, keep them in shape. The nutrition piece is a big piece. So we have a great director of sports performance who works with them. He has a set schedule for summer months and even off, off season time to allow for all of the above. So that's a definite perk and something I'm proud of that we implemented, a few years ago that they take advantage of.
Right. I just thought of another question here. So I'm going to give you a warning here. I'm putting you on the spot, a little ambush question here. Um, the schools that I was at in Florida, particularly Palmer Trinity and then the McClay School up in Tallahassee, as I'm not bragging, it's just the truth. We had great athletic teams, great
Yeah.
college prep, all that. But I would say the percentage of our student athletes that went on to college and continued to play college sports, D1, D3, whatever, was probably around that 5% mark. We had some great kids, all state kids, all that, but they were ready to move on to college and they had a great high school experience. So I'm putting you on the spot. And again, it's not right, wrong, good or bad, but what percentage of your graduates continue playing at the collegiate level, at any level?
Oh my goodness, between baseball, lacrosse, football, I mean, it's a high percentage. I couldn't give you an exact figure, but I mean, I could brag easily and say, between just the last two signing days, I think we had over 25 signees just for each one. For our campus being smaller than even our Broward campus, that's a huge deal. Large number of lacrosse players, they go to top-notch schools. We have athletes at UPenn. We have athletes, Villanova. I mean, they're all over. So I think that is something that's been a tradition here for a long time, that has kept up, and we've been fortunate, especially with the changing landscape. It's amazing that we still, have large numbers like that. But
That's impressive. Yeah.
we're up there.
Um, Kristina, we're going to do this at the end of the podcast, but I want to do it right now. If one of our listeners wanted to reach out and pick your brain a little bit, find out how you do things at American Heritage, or just add you to their network. And listeners, I think you have a tremendous resource here. What's the best way that they can get a hold of Kristina Shahin?
Probably via email, which would be Christina, Kristina .Shahin, Shahin, at ahschool.com.
Okay. And you can
Either
also
way,
find
or
Kristina
social
on,
media.
yeah, you can find Kristina on LinkedIn too. Okay.
Sure, sure.
Let's go and take another break. I know that's shocking for our regular listeners, but we are going to come back with more. So please stay with us. This is the Educational AD Podcast. We also want to say thanks to our good friends at Snap Mobile, particularly Snap Raise. Have you ever spent weeks and weeks with a fundraiser and then been disappointed in the results? Well, those days are gone. Go to snapraise.com. We used it at our school with our teams with tremendous success, and I know you will too. Just go to snapraise.com. Check out all of their other great platforms. But if you're looking for a fundraiser, you just found it, and it's Snap Raise. We also want to say thanks to Ohio University and their online masters in athletic administration. Now, I didn't get my master's from the Ohio program. My assistant athletic director did, along with thousands of others, and it was a great experience. It's very affordable, just 20 months, totally online. And while you are earning your master's, you're also completing 11 NIAAA leadership training courses at no extra charge. Check out Ohio University and they're online masters in athletic administration. And we want to say thanks to our friends at Gipper. Go to Gipper.com and let their team turn you into a social media marketing expert. Maybe it's just going to be one social media post to celebrate a big victory, or it could be an entire newsletter to showcase all the great things that your program's doing. And these templates, they're branded with your colors, your logo, something you really got to see to believe. Go to Gipper.com. Let their team go to work. They'll have you up and running in no time. It's professional graphic design made easy. That's Gipper.com. And like I always say, don't forget to mention the podcast. Welcome back, everybody, to the Educational AD podcast. For our listeners, Kristina and I were talking during the break. In Florida, I believe, is it every 3 years or is it every 2 years now? Okay.
Now it's every year. They just changed
Every
it.
year. Oh, my goodness.
Mhm.
Our state association mandates that a representative from the school's athletic department, usually the athletic director, attend a compliance seminar, and it's usually during the summer. But the topics that are covered from our state activities association, rule changes, procedural changes, things like that. And also they cover a number of important topics, one of them being, sportsmanship. And Kristina was just sharing, she went to the compliance seminar recently, and I'm going to let you go ahead and share what you shared with me.
Well, I don't want to sound like a doctor in the ER who makes that mistake of saying it's a quiet night, but when they were talking about all of the previous year, just the numbers have decreased in so many areas with ejections and write-ups. And as I'm sitting in there with my team, I'm thinking, oh my goodness, we just made it through a whole school year with not one write-up, not one ejection, not nothing between it's a testament to our coaches and just the character of the kids and what they've been kind of working on. And I just couldn't believe it. It just hit me like, wow, I didn't have to do any write-ups or discussions or, appeals or anything with the state. And I was so proud in that moment to myself, but it was eye-opening. I just realized, wow, that's us.
Well, and again, that's something that should be, shouted from the mountaintops because it is so important. I was recently on. I'm the track representative on the officials advisory committee for our state association, and the FHSA administrator was sharing, end of the year statistics, but just mentioned that overall ejections, were up. And I'm scratching my head because we were so very fortunate. The schools I was at, great kids, great coaches, and even I remember we did have an ejection once. I'll tell you about that story in a moment. But one of my favorite cliches, I did not author this, but I own it 100%, and I share it all the time. Everything we see at a school, everything we see at your school, everything we see at my school, everything we see, it's either coached or it's allowed. Which one is it for you? Okay. So I know you're not you're coaching ejections. You're coaching the opposite of that. You certainly don't allow it. What are some things that you do at American Heritage that create that culture where coaches and kids know, hey, we don't go there.
I have to give all of the props for that to my coaches. As I mentioned earlier, they run these programs as programs. It's not just their team and they are there and it's all about the kids, but they really truly focus in like to them. I can speak about all of them that are going through my head right now. It to them, it doesn't matter if somebody chooses to do something that's not in alignment with what, their philosophy is, there's consequences for that. And they don't care if it means that it's something that maybe disrupts, a game or a team. And I think they just bought into them as humans. I mean, a quick example, my own youngest, I think Coach King, I'm so happy to have Coach King back, our head football coach. And he came off the field and we're doing the drive home. And it's one thing when your coach is like laying into the team or something that went on and they hear it, they're used to it. But this one was different. He actually said to me, he goes, he pulled them all together and coach was like, he was extremely disappointed in something that had gone on with the team. And it was funny because my own son said, that's like next level. That was a whole different level. It was like a parent being disappointed in their child. This hit them all way bigger than him just reacting to something that maybe they did. It was just those words like, I'm disappointed. And I'm sitting there thinking to myself, oh, yeah, he's doing an amazing job. Like it's working because you want to do all for them. But first, you have to show how much you care and do all of those things that they know that kids can see right through you if they don't buy into your vision or if they don't believe you really truly care. And that's the moment I knew. I'm like, oh yeah, there we go. They have bought into his vision. They're vested in them. They spend time with them outside of, just being on the field. And that's why I love when it's possible to have them on campus. They develop those relationships beyond, and so that's that for me, that's how I knew. There.
Oh, no. And again, thanks for sharing that story. And that for our listeners, that's not, pie in the sky. Oh, I wish our coaches were that way. That's how all coaches can be with your leadership, with your encouragement. Again, I was very fortunate at Palmer Trinity and then again at Maclay, two different schools, two different ends of the Florida. And both schools, we won the state sportsmanship award, which is as I would share with our parents, it's the only award in the state that has a cash prize that goes with it. It's not just a plaque or certificate. It's $3,500 cash, and we would celebrate that with our kids. But we won that at both schools the same way. I met
Mm.
with their coaches, said I would like our school to be known for this. We win a lot, and that's great. We love to win. But I would like us to win this title. And we met with the student athlete leaders. We met with each team. And, you couldn't, the baseline is having no ejections. You can't apply for the award. Then you have to share some of the things you're doing. And our coaches, again, we did education stuff and just it's very good. One year at Maclay up in Tallahassee, basketball coach calls me up, girls basketball coach. He goes, Jake, we had an ejection. I said, oh, who was it? And he tells me the girl's name. And I'm just going, what? Okay, this is, our best girl. She'd never do anything like that. And she just had a bad moment. And we had a rule, again, this was at Maclay. In Florida, if you get ejected, you're automatically, as a player, you're gone for 2 games, automatically. And it could be worse. So the report came in and she was, going to be suspended for 2 games. That was the referee's recommendation. And the referee was right. She got in a fight with a girl who had pulled her, 3-foot hair extension. But that's why you don't have those extensions. But anyway, long story short, the next morning, she and the coach, they're in my office and the girl's in tears. She's not a bad kid. She just had a bad moment. And she completely owned it. I'm so sorry, blah, 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 not blah, 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 but she was very sorry. And because, I didn't tell you about our policy. We had a policy that whatever the state handed down for a kid or a coach, that we were going to double it. And, so instead of 2 games, it was going to be 4 games. So again, because she owned it, I didn't invoke the extra 2 games. She sat out the other 2 games, came back, had a great season. Now we had a kid in football where I did invoke that because the kid wasn't owning it at all. Oh, the referee, and I'm showing him the video. I said, look at this. This is why you got ejected. Well, he did this or he did that. Yeah, we're sticking with the 4 games. But anyway, the point is, you got to work with your coaches. You got to work with your kids. And it sounds like, it doesn't sound like, you obviously are doing all those right things. I'm going to shut up now and let you talk.
Well, honestly, I think that ownership is key. And what else is important is just, okay, they did it, they've owned it, the adult moves on and the child knows, hey, I'm not a bad person. I made a mistake and I move on. And I think that's important. But again, that's that trust, that's that buying into that vision that they care, they're there for the right reasons. The coaches are there for the right reasons. I mean, and kids are going to do things. But again, I think ownership is just huge. That's a big piece actually of what I hear from a lot of the coaches. The kids know, no excuses. You just,
Yeah.
if you did it, just own up to it and then we move on. It's new
Yeah.
day.
And that moving on, yeah. I mean, it was a bad moment. It would be terrible if we were all remembered for our worst moment.
Right, right.
It's about restoration and let's get back on track. Very good point. Kristina, this has been so cool, spending some time with you, getting to know you. I think we're going to elevate you to friend of the show status. But we're not done yet. We always wrap up with the athletic director's toolbox. And thank you for sharing that nice little story between breaks about your toolbox. Um, you obviously know your way around the world of athletics. But when we come back from our final break, I'm going to ask you to send out a brand new athletic director on their very first job, but I'm only going to let you put three things in their toolbox. So let's hear from Athletic Surveys, who sponsor this segment. When we come back, we're going to see what Kristina Shahin puts in her new athletic director toolbox. We want to say thank you to Athletic Surveys for sponsoring the AD Toolbox segment. Athletic directors already get feedback, but a lot of times it's from a very small group that just wants to complain. Athletic surveys will connect you to that group so you can hear their concerns and hopefully keep them from turning into something big. But they're also going to connect you to the 98% of your stakeholders that support your program. And having that data is incredibly valuable, especially when you're visiting with a frustrated parent, maybe your principal, or even your school board. Go to athleticsurveys.com. They're going to create a custom survey that lets you take the pulse of everybody in your program. That's athleticsurveys.com. Well, it's that time of the podcast. We've been visiting today with Dr. Kristina Shahin. She's the Director of Athletics for the American Heritage Schools on their Palm Beach campus property. Has a tremendous background in leadership and athletics, but right now I'm going to challenge her to send out a brand new AD on their very first job, but I'm only going to let her put three things in the toolbox. So, Kristina, what three tools are going to go into your new athletic director toolbox?
Ooh, first and foremost, I would say you need to understand the climate of your school, what the expectations are from the ownership, what they're looking for, what kind of experience they want to have. So you're going to want to know what they're expecting out of you and what they want to see within the athletics department. I would say the second thing is you have got to surround yourself with other athletic directors. I'm very fortunate. I have Bruce Avon, who is my counterpart on the Broward campus. Some schools, not all schools are created equally. So you have, private versus public, and there's certain rules and things and expectations. Our situation's a little unique because, we just operate a little differently. So he has been my go-to, and that is so important. But even just athletic directors in the area, we ran into a situation where did not have, we weren't able to host a playoff game, and my counterpart couldn't do it on his campus. I called Jeff Johnson at Pinecrest, and that man, he helped us. That's just a relationship that's been built over a few years, and I actually had to ask him for a favor, and he was able to do it. You're going to need a community around you, and you're going to need to just keep your mind open to learn from others and see how they do things, and it's networking. And then the third thing I would say to you is don't panic. What I realized initially from what I shared earlier, you realize that we're all in this together and things happen and surprises happen. You can lessen your surprises with your school. You got to stay communicative with all of your departments on your campus to try to lessen those situations. You've got to stay on top of everything happening around because you do not want to surprise anyone in your administration. And that was one of the first things I learned when I read the athletic director toolbox when I first got my promotion. That was such a great tool for me. And that was one of the things I remember reading. And so you have to have those relationships with everybody on campus as well. That's huge.
Boy, probably saw me scribbling all those things down. And thanks so much for the shout out about, about the book. But you mentioned knowing the culture of your school, and again, it is just so critical when you come in. If you are the new person, if you're new to that school, you really want to get a feel for the people, the traditions, as you said, the culture, before you come in with all of your your great, wonderful ideas and want to change everything. Christina, again, this has just been terrific spending some time with you. If one of our listeners wanted to connect with you, add you to their network, which you just talked about, want to find out how you do things there at American Heritage, what's the best way that they can get a hold of you?
I would say via email, Christina with a K dot Shahin, Shahin at ahschool.com. Email, or I'm on social media as well, and LinkedIn. Whether-
Well, Christina, thanks again for sharing with our listeners. All the best with all the summer programs you have at American Heritage. And we're definitely going to have to get you back on the podcast.
Thank you. I really enjoyed myself. This is out of my comfort zone, but one thing we do in this department is we each challenge one another to do something to kind of take it next level. And my assistant athletic director is the one that said, you need to go and do that. So I think it's important to try new things,
Oh,
keep
no,
things
absolutely. Well,
fresh.
let's get him on the podcast too. Okay.
Yes, great. Thank you.
For our listeners, we want to say thanks and remind you that we upload the Zoom recordings of all of our interviews to the Educational AD Podcast YouTube channel. We do this just about every day. We try to share stories from the world of athletics along with some best practices. So please join us again on the next episode of the Educational AD Podcast. We'll see you next time.